All right, guys, we are live and welcome my special guest, Shaun King. Once again, how's it going, dude?
I'm good, man. Just got finished with a charity golf tournament, so being a little rough. Wind was pretty heavy out there, but we held it down.
Well, that's good to know, man. But speaking of the draft, man, this was probably the most interesting draft of them all when it came down to the Falcons getting Michael Penix. What was your reaction, man?
I thought it was the right move. I've said for years that if more people really approach the draft in the first round, I'm going to draft the best player available, then their rosters would look more well-rounded and have much more high-end talent 2-3 years down the road. I don't think you can draft in the first round based off need. You have to go best available. And the fact that Penix is on a 5-year deal, it still allows Kirk Cousins 2 years, to be the starting quarterback there. It allows them to be able to play Kyle Pitts, Drake London, potentially Bijan Robinson when Penix does become the starting quarterback there, and he still have 3 years left on his rookie deal. So it makes sense financially. It makes sense, in my opinion, from a talent acquisition standpoint. And I think it was very smart by the organization, because I ask anybody that says, well, they needed an edge rusher. Does this draft has an edge rusher that's more talented than Michael Penix? Just on a pure ranking. And I know Dallas Turner was a kid that a lot of people liked. I'm not a big Latu fan from UCLA, just a lot of injuries. And I didn't like the way Fuaga manhandled him when UCLA played Oregon State. So if they're not in love with Dallas Turner and you get a chance to draft what you think is an elite potential Pro Bowl caliber player, then I thought they did the right thing.
Yeah, it's more like the future plans, but I guess some teams don't think that way. Like, look how Green Bay did it with the previous years.
And I thought Green Bay drafted Jordan as a developmental quarterback. Whereas I think Atlanta drafted Michael Penix as a franchise quarterback. Now, I know Green Bay took him in the first round, but a lot of times the Packers and Niners and those kind of teams are going to be picking 25 and up. And so they're in a different position, in my opinion, than teams are in the top 10.
Yeah, they were like in the top 10. And some teams, like if you're in the 20s, you don't have a good chance to get some of those top quarterbacks because of the spots. You might have to trade up for those guys. But the shocking surprise of those draft picks were, like, I guess a lot of these quarterbacks, like 6 of these quarterbacks were gone before the Raiders even got on the clock. Like, can that get any worse, bro? They were supposed to go get a quarterback, right? But they go get this tight end. Like, your thoughts on that pick?
Well, again, I think it's a value selection. As an organization, when you draw it up, I don't think your initial plan of action has first and second round picks in subsequent years on the tight end position. Like, generally, that's not going to be how you develop like a championship roster. But, the way the chips fell this year with the run on quarterbacks, and, obviously they had Brock Bowers much higher on their board than any of the cornerbacks or other guys available. So they took what they thought was the best available player. I can't criticize one team for doing it and then, congratulate another team. Now, I really think, CG, when it comes to top 15 type picks, man, you got to rank your board 1 to 15. And when you get to your selection, who's ever the highest ranked player on your board, I think that's who you should be selecting, no matter what your current roster looks like, because it's just an opportunity to acquire big-time, best-of-that-class type talent, and I don't think you can pass on it.
Yeah, one of the best tight ends in the class, and I think that was kind of pretty obvious, but it was just kind of strange that it just had to be at a time where they go get a quarterback, but, it's like...
But they got Aiden O'Connell.
Aiden O'Connell's all right.
Gardner Minshew. But to me, what's the difference between those guys and Denver taking Bo Nix? I'd rather have Minshew and O'Connell than Bo Nix. And if it wasn't such a run on quarterbacks, in a normal year, let's just say it was one top 15 quarterback, Brock Bowers is probably a top 5-6 pick.
At the player, like the talent alone, yes.
Right. So you get him at 13. So, as long as Luke Getsy, the new offensive coordinator, has a plan of action on how to use him and Michael Mayer, who they drafted in the second round out of Notre Dame last year, then that 2 tight end, formation could be something that's a staple of their base offense.
Yeah. It would. I think that's the plan. A 2 tight end set for them would be good for their offense. But then you look at the Rams; they haven't drafted a first round in many, many years.
And McVay does it a little different. But what the Rams do a good job of is player evaluation. Pakua Nakua, Kyron Williams, like Tutu Atwell. Like you look at that team, he's rebuilt that team in a year and a half. I mean, they were in the Super Bowl. Not Sam Bradford. Matthew Stafford beat Joe Burrow 2 years ago
in the Super Bowl. Yes,
and people thought they were going to have to tear that thing down, and it'd be years before they were good again. They did a hell of a job acquiring young players. They did a good job of evaluating, and now look at them. They're one of the better young rosters in the National Football League. So head to the Rams. You got to give Les Snead and Sean McVay a lot of credit for their ability to evaluate personnel. I love what they did. I think they went back-to-back Florida State defensive linemen. I think they went
Jared Verse and
then Fisk after that. So I thought that was smart. I know they lost Aaron Donald, but obviously they had a high grade on Verse and Fisk after that. So, I give them the benefit of the doubt when it comes to deciding who and when they're going to draft.
Yeah. I think the team that did the best in the draft is the Philadelphia Eagles. Because they went with good talent.
I mean, they're always going to pick somewhere in the 20s, and they're always going to pick an SEC defensive player, it seems like. So, I mean, they've kind of got like a formula that works. Who did they take in the first round? I know. Did they take
Quinn Mitchell, the guy from Toledo? He's supposed
to be Quinn Mitchell, and didn't they get Wiggins from Clemson after that?
No, they went to get Cooper DeJean in the second round.
Okay. Right, versatile guy. So, I mean, it works. For some reason, they took a huge step back last year. And I know they were a playoff team, but they didn't look the same. So Quinyon Mitchell's a guy a lot of people were high on. Shout out to Jason Candle and everybody at Toledo. What a great player eval by them. Shout out to Quinyon Mitchell in a era, or at least a period where everybody's transferring and leaving the Toledos and the MAC level schools to go play, for bigger programs. The fact that he stayed there, I had tipping for that. And then DeJean's a hell of an asset, talented. I'm sure they have a plan for where they're going to play him. It's going to help special teams. So we'll see if Jalen Hurts in that offense and get back going. But they do a good job, too. They don't overthink stuff. A kid that was good in college, that played good football, they generally feel like he's going to be good in the pros. So they don't get outside. They don't try and become the smartest team in the draft. They just kind of, okay, we've seen this kid put in 2-3 years, in college of great football. He fits what we're doing. We're going to take him.
They won't hesitate. They'll take him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I like about Howie Roseman. He's more of an aggressive GM than most other people give him credit for. But then you look into the Niners draft. The receiver. You remember like almost a week ago, you were talking about if the Niners were to get a wide receiver and move on from Ayuk, you said we should have got Xavier Legette. This guy was at our spot, but instead we go get this kid from Florida, Ricky Pearsall, man. Your thoughts on this pick?
Super talented, man. People think he has a chance to be box office. Not as productive as some of the other guys, but I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Anthony Richardson was injured a large portion of his time in Florida. And then this year, this wasn't the best version of the Gators we saw this past year. Kind of some musical chairs at quarterback. So some inconsistency hurt his production, but, I mean, he's talented. He's super talented. I don't know if I'd have taken him over Xavier Legette, but, again, I give, John and Kyle the benefit of the doubt when it comes to the plan they have for the player they're selecting. So I don't have anything negative to say about Pearsall. I wouldn't have taken him over Xavier Legette, but I don't have anything negative to say about Pearsall. He's a baller.
Okay, so he's good on your eyes from what you're looking at. But speaking of a quarterback who went to your same college, Michael Pratt got into the 7th round with the Packers, man. Is it just me, or does he look like Michael Walker from Varsity Blue or something?
I was happy for Mike, man. That's actually not a bad spot.
Good spot to develop, too.
Yeah, he'll get a chance to go there and as long as Jordan stays healthy, he'll look up and he'll have been in the league for 3 years, and not had to actually, play any in-game football. And I know that's frustrating when you're young, but listen, just keep getting to the next year. Those checks add up.
I mean, he's gonna. I mean, if you're gonna be a backup quarterback, I think Green Bay would be the best spot where they develop good quarterbacks. So it's like, if you look at their track records, how many of quarterbacks have come out of Green Bay have actually had successful careers? I mean, Mark Brunell's a great example.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, there's
That has
quite a
been
few
kind
other
of the one
dudes.
place where you've seen multiple guys succeed at a high level.
Yeah, Hasselbeck's a good example. I mean, but I guess they just know how to develop the talents, just like what they did with Jordan Love. It took him 3 years to become the guy. So maybe he might benefit with a different opportunity down the road. But I think he's good value for the Packers.
Yeah, for where they got him for, absolutely, absolutely. He's got to become a little more accurate throwing the football, but he's a better athlete than people give him credit for, and that's a good spot. Because skill set wise, I think he's similar to Jordan Love in a lot of ways, and he's athletic enough to do the stuff that Love does. So if he did have to play, they wouldn't have to change the offense.
Not because he would just be able to operate the offense just fine. I mean, you look at how they're going to bring in somebody who fits the system, so it's not like rocket science. But then you look at your team, the Buccaneers. You know, the one pick I liked the most was Jalen McMillan. That was one of my favorite prospects receivers. I actually met the guy at a football camp, and this guy is nothing but kind, but he runs the best damn routes in my opinion.
Yeah, I love the first round pick. Who we take the O lineman from
Graham
Duke, right?
Barton, I
Yeah,
like that dude.
I like that pick because we need help on the offensive line. Then with our second pick, didn't we go back O line again? If I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Let me look it up.
Yeah.
I have
Sorry
to
for
look
not.
it up, but I know you got McMillan in the third round, which I think is a good value pick.
Yeah, I actually wanted them to go get Troy Franklin from Oregon, but I'm not mad at McMillan. And the only reason is because, I mean, Mike Evans has been a damn good receiver. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer in my opinion, but at some point he might have been in the game a long time.
Oh, they got this edge rusher from Alabama, Chris Braswell, and then they got a safety from Georgia in the third round after McMillan, which is Tyke Smith.
Okay, yeah. That's what happened. Yeah, I like both of those guys, but and I don't dislike McMillan. I just wish they'd have got Troy Franklin. I thought we needed somebody to really take the top off the defense, like somebody that really has blazing game speed. But hey, McMillan's a good receiver. He kind of plays the same role for Tampa he played for Washington. Kind of like that third receiver, used to get in the best matchups, knows how to get open, find his spot space in the offense. So I mean, everybody thinks that Atlanta's got the best team in the South, but I still think it's Tampa.
Tampa's got the most proven talent because they've been consistent, but it's like we got to wait and see. We heard the Saints were supposed to take a leap, but they didn't do it last year, so I don't know. I think Tampa, because of what Baker Mayfield's doing, everybody thought Baker Mayfield was at the end of his career. Nah, he's just beginning, man.
We're gonna find out, CG. We're gonna find out.
We're gonna find out, but I'm pretty sure when you look at all the drafts, I mean, you look at the teams who actually did the most out of it. Like, yeah, the Bears, they got only 5 draft picks, but they made those picks count.
Yeah, we're gonna see. I think the Bears situation is gonna be interesting, and here's why. Every pundit that got a chance to speak on the Bears, when asked what the expectations were next year, every one of them said playoffs.
I don't know. Maybe next year.
We're gonna see. I mean, I
think it's Detroit that's taking that division straight up again.
I think to have a rookie quarterback be under those kind of expectations in a division that includes the Lions and the Packers, two of the teams, if the NFL was 32 different stocks, you'd be buying stock in the Lions and Packers. And then Minnesota, who's as talented as anybody with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson. Then they added Aaron Jones. So, like, to me, the Vikings are a more talented team than the Bears, but I think the Bears have higher expectations. Listen, I know they got Keenan Allen and DJ Moore, and they drafted a Dunzu. I get it, but that trio isn't better than the trio in Minnesota.
Yeah, just on paper it looks good, but I trust more on Detroit and Green Bay because at least I'm getting consistency with them. The Bears, they've been on the cusp of being an up and down team. So it's like
gonna be fascinating to watch, though. It's gonna be fascinating.
Yeah, it is, especially when it comes to their defense. I think their defense is going to be making strides. I mean, you look at their offense; they just got a better quarterback. Like, how do you feel about Justin Fields going into the Steelers, bro? Does it come down between Russell Wilson for that job or no?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see him compete, but just based on what Mike Tomlin said, it seems like the plan is for Russ to be the starter and Justin to kind of learn under Russ and then take over next year. Because if I'm not mistaken, Russ signed a 1-year deal, right?
Yeah, he signed a 1-year deal.
And so, hey, we'll find out. I know if you're Russ, and I don't think a lot of people have looked at it from this angle. Like Russ is like a really mature guy. Like he's a guy that will sit at home and think about where is his legacy if he never played again. And I think when he arrived in Denver, Russell was on a Hall of Fame trajectory. I think Denver knocked him off of that trajectory. So I think for Russell, this is his year to get back on and in the conversation of being a Hall of Fame caliber player when he stops playing. So I think you're going to see a really, really – and I didn't think Russ played bad last year. I thought Sean Payton used Russell Wilson as a scapegoat. But I think you're going to see a really, really locked-in Russell Wilson that's trying to reestablish, the narrative around his name to what it was when he was in Seattle, not what it became when he was in Denver.
Yeah, I think that's what the expectation is going to be for Russell. I think he's going to play better because there's no big contract. It's low expectation. He's just going to come into Pittsburgh and try to prove himself. I mean, or it can be Justin Fields taking the job. So you don't know. But can Russ – I mean, like you said, last year Russ played good football. It was just like you said, Sean Payton must have used him as a scapegoat. Because if you look at last season, he did put up the good numbers. Like the good numbers if you're looking at fantasy football-wise. This man put up, 27 touchdown passes or 26?
Yeah, I think he only threw 5 or 6 interceptions.
Yeah, it wasn't like he was a bad quarterback, but I think Pittsburgh is going to get a better Russell Wilson by far.
I agree. And just let me be on record. Justin Fields and Sam Howell should be starting quarterbacks in the National Football League this year. Shame on you, NFL. They still don't know how to evaluate the quarterback position.
And they gave up on these quarterbacks too soon, too, just like what we did with Trey Lance. He should be getting an opportunity to be a starter, but it's just he wasn't fitted into our right away.
Yeah, one of the few mistakes, and I think I've said that multiple times on your platform, and thanks for having me too, CG. I appreciate it. One of the few mistakes that I think Lynch and Kyle have made during their tenure was the Trey Lance move. I never thought his inexperience and the Niners' expectations would ever mesh. Like he'd never have a chance to play and actually be a young developmental quarterback, which is what he was, because the expectations just were too high in San Francisco. That fit to me was never going to work.
Exactly. I think maybe that's what it was, the pressure, and I think he didn't have enough experience, so maybe that's what got him off the. That's what happens. You're going to trade somebody with not too much experience, and if he doesn't flourish, then I guess you have to move forward with it. Like you look at Brock Purdy, a lot of college experience, a lot of playing, so I guess that makes a lot of sense with the experience and the transition. He's gotten better. Everybody keeps talking about his pick stats, but I think he's kind of playing exactly into a legitimate quarterback. Like next year, we'll see if he gets the big fat contract, but we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Well, I mean, very mature young man, throws the ball with great anticipation, generally pretty accurate with the ball, much better athlete than people give him credit for. The interesting thing will be he doesn't have the elite arm talent of the top dogs.
Yeah, that's true.
So just as the evaluation sample size gets larger, it'll be interesting. How does he stack up in games versus the Mahomes and Josh Allen's and, those kind of guys that are elite talents.
Those strong arm guys, the ones you're going to face against and all that stuff. But I'm kind of intrigued by the Chargers, before we end this show. How do you think about the Chargers drafting as far as their offseason? Like, I just like how Jim Harbaugh builds culture.
I do too, man. I just think Harbaugh's a no-nonsense guy. He just wants hardworking guys. That offensive line has Rashawn Slater. Now they added Joe Alt. So, I mean, you kind of know what Harbaugh's bringing to the table. They're going to be tough. They're going to run the ball. They're going to try and create explosive plays. But, I mean, they're going to play Jim Harbaugh football. And it probably is going to be very similar to what John Harbaugh and the Ravens, the type of style of football that they play. Now, Herbert's a little different quarterback than Lamar Jackson, so there is some variance there. But just the style of play, the Ravens, hard-nosed, fast on defense, run around, see ball, get ball. Offense, even though they have an MVP quarterback, still kind of run first, kind of conservative. more of a pick up first downs passing game than it is, try and throw for 400 yards and 6 touchdown passing game. So I think that they're going to be very similar in how they approach it. And what we're going to find out is how good Justin Herbert is. I know he's talented, but I don't know how good he is. He hasn't proved that to me yet.
I'm interested to see how that's going to turn around because he's going to have a better coach. And he's going to have a little bit more better supporting cast, and it's not going to be no excuse on the kid. The kid's talented, so we'll definitely look forward to this. But, hey, maybe in the coming season we'll definitely get you back on, man. I know you got a pretty busy schedule, bro, and I definitely appreciate you on the show. And you got something good with Coach JB and those other guys, man.
I'll tell him you said that, man. I'll be on it tomorrow. I had that golf event today, so I couldn't make it. I'll be on tomorrow morning. All right, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right, for sure, man. See you around, bro.
Yep.
All right. That's Shaun King, man. Let's call it a day.